It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. I'm Kevin Keatsman. Look at my sheet, Mark. Look at this mess. Everything is scratched out because Mundo's back. He took my whole show today. Guests, topics, you name it, he did it all. Mundo, go home. Bring Gallant back. Let's go. Stealing my show. Boy, it was a good 4-day run I had here where everything I wrote down on the piece of paper I got to talk about on the show, but I've scratched out a bunch that Pete's already covered today. I've still got plenty of fun topics. We're going to have fun because it's a Friday, and I like to have fun on Fridays. We have the first winner in Idaho of the Old State Saloon Challenge of free beer for a month. A man has turned in an illegal alien that got picked up by ICE. And he gets to drink free for a month. We'll have all the details on that for you on the show today. That's fun. Ooh, this is pretty serious. The UK has they've canceled the election and postponed it. This is the Democrats of the UK, the Labour Party. They are terrified of an absolute wipeout. Their streets are filled with illegal migrants from the Middle East. Their crime is running rampant in places like London. And they do not want to have elections. We'll talk about that on the show today. Oh, good story here about the Dollar Tree. Not the store. Not the store. You can get a Christmas tree for $1. A Dollar Tree on today's show. And we'll get into little Chiefs, maybe, as they've had their best practices of the week. Best practices of the year so far this week. And I'll tell you why that stinks. I'm not trying to bring you down. You probably pieced that together. But we start today with the World Cup draw is an hour away. We are gathering all kinds of soccer fans at the Power and Light District today in Kansas City to watch this on television as FIFA will announce the groups. I don't follow this as closely as I follow other sports, but there will be a grouping today where many of the teams in the grouping will be headed to Kansas City. Then tomorrow we'll learn for sure what the matchups are. I think we get the dates, we get everything. Tomorrow we get all kinds of stuff. So they're going to announce the teams that are in, the groups, how they're grouped up and all those things. But that's not the fun of this. The fun of this is this was going to happen in Las Vegas, but they moved it to D.C., and it's at the Kennedy Center, where they're also going to announce the FIFA Peace Prize, Football Unites the World. It would be a stunner if Donald J. Trump doesn't get the Peace Prize. And that's where I want to start today because Trump's about to have himself a hell of a weekend. And you know what? He's deserved it. I mean, it's got to be taxing having your admirals blow up those boats in the ocean, dealing with Maduro and the stupid people in Ukraine and Russia and all the other things going on. He's a busy guy. He maybe gets to let his hair down a little bit this weekend, accept the Peace Prize. On Sunday, the Kennedy Center honors take place. He gets to hang out with Stallone and Ace Frehley of Kiss and not Mariah Carey, Gloria Gaynor. They're going to get their awards, and I think he's going to have the microphone and be the showman that he is. This is a big weekend for Trump, and he doesn't even have to leave D.C. to do this. But there's a hidden story that nobody's talking about, and I do believe Democrats will eventually get around to losing their minds over this one. Did you know yesterday, first of all, did you know that we had a United States Institute of Peace? Mark Van Sickle, were you aware that we have something called the U.S. Institute of Peace?
I was not.
I was not either. I was not aware of this at all, and it's supposedly a nonprofit or whatever they want, nonprofit think tank. Oh, but a nonprofit think tank is funded by the government, and it was an early target of DOJ, and it didn't catch any attention because it doesn't get the kind of money a lot of other things get. The Trump administration has now renamed the U.S. Institute of Peace the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. I love this guy. Now, if you want to know why they hate him so much, this is it. Can you imagine Barack Obama's president, and he renamed the U.S. Institute of Peace, as I understand it, was there, while he was, setting a record for drone strikes and actually... By the way, Obama, did you know he actually, with a drone strike, killed an American citizen? They're worried about these narco-terrorists floating in the ocean trying to get back on the boat and save the drugs. Obama killed an American citizen. Joe Biden killed 10 civilians with a strike in Afghanistan. They just hit the wrong target and killed innocent people. Oh, but we're worried about these narco boat guys. Yeah, it's all just so stupid. But I digress. Can you imagine if Obama was president and he decided to rename the U.S. Institute of Peace the Barack Hussein Obama Institute of Peace in the United States of America? We'd be, pretty upset, right? So this is what Trump does. They've planted the president's name on the organization. They changed the sign out front. They've done all this despite the fact there's an ongoing fight over the Institute's control. In the latest twist, there's a seesaw court battle of who controls the U.S. Institute of Peace. The nonprofit think tank people think it's them. The government thinks it's them. On Wednesday, the State Department said it has renamed the organization to the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace to, quote, reflect the greatest deal maker in our nation's history. The new name could immediately be seen on the side of the building, which is right next to the State Department. Trump has spent months openly lobbying for a Nobel Peace Prize, even though he continues to get passed over, arguing he had a hand in erasing 8 conflicts in 8 months. Meanwhile, Trump has ordered strikes on suspected drug vessels off the coast of Venezuela and repeatedly threatened the attacks on land could be coming, which would be an act of war against that country. The takeover of the Peace Institute was anything but peaceful, this story goes. This is written by liberals. That's what makes it so fun. With his administration seizing the independent entity and ousting its board before actually affixing his name to the building. He has his name on the Institute of Peace because of a hostile takeover. I love this president. I don't care what happens to the Institute of Peace or if his name stays on, and if a Democrat wins, they'll probably pull it off. But how petty will they look? If we win the midterms in November, and he has control, Pete mentioned this earlier today, and he has control for the next 2 years, he may name everything after himself. He may just do it. And all he's doing is setting the trap for the future because they're going to come in and want to take his name off stuff. And when they do, they will look ridiculously petty. It's just fantastic. But the U.S. Institute of Peace is Donald Trump's. I love that story. I also love what has happened with Ilhan Omar. She's the Somalian American in Congress from Minneapolis. And she came out and said, how about this? ICE is making fools of themselves, she said. They're looking for a needle in a haystack. All the Somalians here are documented. They're not going to find any. Now, documented and citizens are two different things. She says they came in on green cards, which gives them, after 5 years of a green card, you can become a citizen. And that was their pathway to citizenship. Well, if they came in under Biden, they haven't had their 5 years left. Trump can do what he wants with them. So she's poking him with a stick. Just a few hours later, after she says it's a needle in a haystack trying to find Somalians here in Minnesota, you're not going to find any undocumented, we get a report from Homeland Security announcing they rounded up at least a dozen criminal illegal immigrants. It's more than that. They announced a dozen. Child sex traffickers, domestic abusers, violent gang members during Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has the latest worst of the worst list, including 5 Somali nationals, 6 from Mexico, 1 from El Salvador. They found 5 needles in one tiny little haystack called Minneapolis. Sanctuary policies and politicians like Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey allowed these pedophiles, domestic terrorists, and gang members to roam the streets and terrorize Americans, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement. Ilhan Omar, find that needle in the haystack. Department of Homeland Security, hold my beer. Oh, there's 5 of them right here. Oh, all 5 are illegal. They're not just illegal, they're illegal criminals. We're checking a lot of boxes here. And I'm pretty sure if they navigate this the right way, and Trump is serious about these Somalians, if they're here just documented, not citizens, just documented, green card, whatever, student visa, I'm pretty sure there's ways for Trump to get them out if he wants to. If she wants to keep blabbing her mouth and poking a stick at Donald Trump, I would warn her that she's doing more harm for her Somalian friends in Minnesota than good. We previously, though, that 91% of the people arrested and convicted, 59 have already been convicted, Okay, and there were 70, 79, 80 something arrested in this $1 billion Somalian scam. 91% of the people involved in that are from Somalia. Now we have 5 more that are huge criminals. We're getting close to 100 Somalians in Minneapolis that have done terrible crimes. They all got to be gone. There is a debate going on right now. Is it better to jail them for a couple of years here and then deport them? In other words, is it a better deterrent to say you're locked up in an American prison for a couple of years, you lose everything, then you get sent back to Somalia? I don't know the answer to that. I haven't thought deeply enough about it. Maybe you've got some ideas, but they're on a roll, and they're rounding up Somalians in Minneapolis. 913-408-7957. That's 913-408-7957. If you would like to join in on this conversation today, I'd be honored to have you. We always put to the front of the line first-time callers and ladies. Let's go. I know we got ladies driving down the road like, I don't know if I can call a radio show or not. Do it. It's 2025. Everybody says what's on their mind. This is Uncanceled on KCMO. Great to have you with us. Hope you're looking forward to a great weekend in Kansas City. The weather's going to be warming up just a little bit. It looks like Sunday's the coldest day in, well, I looked at a 30-day thing on my app today, and it looked like the coldest day in 30 days for the Chiefs-Texans. A lot of folks think that's an advantage for the Chiefs. I guess we'll see on Sunday night. To the phones we go, and Stu in Rosedale starts us off on this Friday morning. Good morning, Stu. How are you, buddy?
Hi, Kevin. You know, when you mentioned Trump putting his name on everything, I'm reminded of a sitcom that I watch in reruns called Just Shoot Me. It was on from the late 90s into the early 2000s. And one of the running gags is about Trump. George Siegel, the late actor George Siegel, plays a magazine publisher, and he's pals or plays golf with Donald Trump, and they're always trying to outdo one another, and they make bets. Donald Trump never appears, but there's all these references to Donald Trump. And one of them that I saw it might have been just last night, where George Siegel's character says, the last time I lost a bet to Donald Trump, I found myself with my pants down in a tattoo parlor. That guy likes to put his name on everything.
Yeah. Okay. I like that one, Stu. Pretty good. I have no problem with Trump doing this. He built his brand. He's got a unique last name. It obviously is a word that you use that is a positive word. He loves. I saw a thing. Did you guys see the thing about Polymarket and the odds this guy was talking about with Polymarkets is where it's kind of like a gambling site about things could happen in the future. You're predicting whatever. And this dude had bet all this money that J.D. Vance was going to be his selection for vice president when J.D. Vance at that time was 100-1. And he said he was the only one-syllable last name of all the candidates. And he picked Pence the first time, and Trump is a marketer at his core, and it was never going to be like Trump Mazeroski or something like that. It was always going to be Trump Pence, Trump Vance, that this was part of the marketing thing, and that's why he bet what he bet. I'd never thought of that, but Trump thinks of all these things, and he basically markets his brand like nobody else.
Yep.
All right, Stu, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, take care. He had a story and a joke. I love it. Appreciate that. And now we check in with Fred and Miriam on Uncanceled. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Kevin. Hey, here's what I think they ought to do with these Somalis. Whether they put them in prison for 2 years or not before they deport them, they put a tattoo on their forehead so that when they come back again, and most of them will at least try to come back again, we don't have to waste a lot of time with their frivolous claims. We say, no, we've already deported you once, and now we're turning you around and deporting you again immediately.
Pretty sure they'd call that a human rights abuse if you did that. I know where you're coming from. Here's the important thing. If we want to get into something that's really important, we've got to pass a law in the next year because we don't know what's going to happen in the midterms. We have to pass a law to make it impossible for a Democrat president to do what Joe Biden did. I don't know why nobody's talking about this. Like, we can do all this for 4 years, but then if the Democrats win, they're just going to allow everybody in again. It's pretty obvious they want to take over like we're seeing in the UK right now and throughout Europe. We have to, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to write a bill. Okay. I don't know what it would be, but we have to make it some sort of, almost like a death penalty crime for a president to do what he did. I don't know how there are so many laws on the books that say what Joe Biden did was illegal, but nothing ever came of it. We have to write something concrete that these are the laws and nobody can override these laws. We cannot just allow unvetted people to come into the country. I don't know how you do it, but we've got to do it.
I don't think there's a way to do it.
I don't understand that. I refuse to believe that there's no way to do it. So if you're saying that, then there's no way we can pass a voter ID law?
We can pass all the laws we want, but we can't make the officials enforce the law.
Well, we have to make the law so concrete that if you committed that crime, you're guilty and there's no appealing, there's no place you can go. Ultimately, it's rock solid. I don't know how we do this, but we have to do it. We can't have one party just wanting to take over and break the law nonstop, allow people in, no voter ID, CDL licenses to people who can't speak and write and read English. I mean, this stuff's just crazy. No American wants this. We have to get to a point where we can enforce this.
Unfortunately, a lot of Americans do want it. That's the problem.
But not the majority. These are not popular issues.
The majority.
No, these are not
You're
popular
right.
issues. It's like 20% of the people want open borders. It's an 80-20 issue. Nobody really wants open borders.
Well, people have to quit voting for liberals.
Well, right, but they don't. They don't, because then they care about abortion more, or the check they get in the mail every month, or their food stamps. See, that stuff doesn't matter to them when they're getting ready to get cut off from all the goodies, the candy they're getting every day. I just don't think that it's right that they can do this if they take over, and there has to be a way to write laws to prevent it. There must be a way. Jeff in Shawnee is with us. Hi, Jeff. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I got a great story from about 20 years ago. I worked heavy construction. We were working at about 159th and Kenneth Road. We had the road closed, and everybody kept going past it. A lot of construction going on out there. And so we called Oakland Parks cops, and they would pull people over when they went past our sign. And he was pulling over a lot of, yoga people, yoga girls, and, $20,000, $40,000 Escalades, and giving them tickets for going around it. Well, end of the day, a broke down, four-door Honda pulled up with about 6 Hispanic guys in it, right? No tags, no nothing. He pulls them over. Within 5 seconds, they're gone, right? I walk over to him. I go, hey, what's going on here, man? I go, I've been watching you all day. And I go, you've been, giving out tickets, but that last car you pulled over, there wasn't nobody in there illegal or I didn't even see they had a tag on their car, and there was too many people in the car. And he looked at me and says, do you realize how long it would take me to do the paperwork on that? He goes, there were 6 of them in there. He goes, none of them spoke English, no tags. And I go, so what you're telling me is you're tagging everybody that's got insurance and got the money to pay the tag and got a driver's license. He goes, that's pretty much it. He goes, these guys are out here working construction. If we would prosecute them, and this was over 20 years ago, he goes, I'd be here all day.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. And it sounds like the real problem was he would have had several violations. I mean, you're talking, thanks for the call, man. Good stuff. You would, if they didn't have tags, didn't have license, didn't have insurance, didn't have ID, didn't have proof of citizenship, couldn't speak, if they couldn't read. I mean, there's a million things that he probably could have got them all on. That was then. I think there are protocols in place now for local officials, if they so choose, to just immediately call Homeland Security or ICE and say, we got a problem here, it's all yours, and just hand them off. That's a good thing. Uncanceled continues. $1 Christmas trees next. Oh, everybody wants to save a little money around Christmas time, right? Yes, you do. Of course you do. The Trump Department of the Interior announced a holiday affordability effort that it said will help families save money while enjoying public lands and supporting wildfire prevention. In the 2025-26 season, under the plan, the Bureau of Land Management is reducing firewood and Christmas tree permit fees through January 31st. This is unbelievable. The plan includes $1 one tree initiative. If you go onto these Department of Interior lands where they have very, very, very thick pine trees everywhere, and you would like to cut one down and take it home for Christmas, it's going to cost you $1. Normally, the fee is $90 to go onto these lands and chop down a tree. These also help eliminate wildfires because the forests are too thick. We have overplanted. It's literally true. When we were flush with trees, before everybody was talking about, oh, we got a tree problem in the 80s or so, we have like 3 times as many trees now as we had then. We've done a great job because remember the ozone. Nobody talks about the ozone layer anymore. We planted all these trees because the ozone layer, this was before climate change, global warming, whatever. It was the ozone and CO2, and we got to have these trees. So we plant all these trees. Well, they're all big and beautiful. We got trees everywhere. We got so many trees we don't know what to do with them. So this has just got to steam the environmentalists like crazy. For $1, you can go chop down a tree. Just locate the nearest place for you where it's permissible through the Bureau of Land Management. Just log on to their website. Find a place to go get yourself a Christmas tree for $1. And even better, a cord of wood averages, most places it's maybe more than this. A cord of wood is $300. They're allowing you to go on these lands where they're chopping down trees and turning them into cords of wood and buying a cord of wood for $1. So a family this holiday season can get a cord of wood and a Christmas tree for $2. That's pretty good. That's a nice affordability play. We respect that. And I absolutely, positively, 1,000% believe in thinning trees to prevent the massive wildfires. The best way to do it, where it's really a serious problem, is they take large swaths and eliminate all the trees. So if there is a fire, it hits the edge before the empty swath where there are no more trees, and the fire dies right there. It's not always perfect. Winds can shift. They can still blow to where there's other trees, but that's the best way to do it. And environmentalists hate it because you have these big, wide, huge swaths of land where all the trees have been cut down. But guess what? The fire won't spread past there because there's no trees to keep the fire going. And it absolutely makes sense to me. That's just common sense. I don't think you need any sort of a university Department of Conservation to teach you that one. I don't think. So we love that. We also love, we mentioned this first last week on Uncanceled, a place called the Old State Saloon in Idaho. Idaho's a wonderful state. I think it's the second most conservative voting state behind Oklahoma. Could be wrong, but Idaho's really red. A lot of people from Hollywood are moving into the fancier areas there in some of those places. Is it Sun Valley where they all go, where they have the movie thing? And but so there's some people moving in, but Idaho is just as red as it can be. And the Old State Saloon owner said, I might as well jump on the bandwagon here. We got to find a way to find these people and get them home if they've committed crimes or whatever may be the case. The Old State Saloon owner says, we're going to give away 30 days, 1 month full of free beer to anyone that identifies an illegal alien that ICE will pick up or the authorities will pick up and detain because they've either done something wrong or they don't belong here or they're on a list or whatever may be the case. We have our first winner. His name is Ryan Spoon. I'm going to play about a 45-second clip here of a television station. This is a big story in Idaho and nowhere else. Like, this is a fairly liberal TV station, and in it, the irony of this is fantastic. There's a Democrat state representative who has previously bragged in Idaho that every food processor in Idaho hires illegal aliens. She's part of the State House in Idaho, and she owns a food processing company. So a guy named Ryan Spoon says, I'm going to go find some people that work there and turn them in because I'm pretty sure they're illegal. He turned in a lady who bragged to have illegal aliens working for her to the authorities and gets free beer for a month. Here's how it played on TV in Idaho.
Ryan Spoon, the so-called first winner of Old State Saloon's month of free beer promotion, told Idaho News 6 he filed that tip believing the man he reported worked for Mickelson's Farms.
Basically, I repeated Representative Stephanie Mickelson's, State House Representative Stephanie Mickelson. She gave public floor testimony on the floor of the Idaho State House in 2024, I believe it was, where in her own words, she said that, quote, every food processor in the state, unquote, hires illegals.
Mickelson, whose family employs hundreds of workers, says she decided to speak now to let others know she thinks the saloon's promotion is despicable.
If we start targeting people based upon the color of their skin, that we really have a big problem here.
That's right. You have a big problem here. You have a big problem here because you have a food processing plant that you've bragged is packed with illegal aliens. And now you have a bar offering free beer for a month if people turn those employees in. Sorry for your bad luck. Keep your mouth shut, follow the law. Maybe ICE should look into her or Homeland Security investigations and make sure that her food processing plant has done everything exactly by the letter of the law with all of the illegal people there. Make sure that they're paying taxes. Do you know how expensive it is for these companies? I've got a friend with a company, and I had a long discussion with him recently, and he clearly has people that are here on work visas that are not American citizens. He has basically an immigration business attorney for his business that looks over everything, and an accountant that specializes in it and says, okay, we've got these workers. They're documented. It's okay to do this, but you got to collect the taxes. You have to do all these things. Like, he loses sleep at night worrying that he's not doing exactly the right thing. I wonder if that representative has done all the right things. Inquiring minds want to know. I'm thinking about vacationing in Idaho this spring, see if I can find somebody. I could go get a VRBO for like a month, find somebody the first day, take a little downtime from Cumulus Media. I got free beer for a month in Idaho, man. Spring must be beautiful when the flowers start coming out. Let's go to the phones. Here's Mike in Olathe on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Mike. How are you? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm great.
All right. Thank you.
No, I'm great. Thank you. Great story, by the way. But, you were talking about the tree thing, and it came to mind the fact that the environmentalists, and actually those on the left in general, don't understand that seeds come from other trees when you take them out. Apples are grown with apple seeds, and more giving creates more return. That's a concept of life that the left does not understand, and they probably never will because it's somewhat biblical. But they always want to basically try to cut the cocoon before the butterfly appears, and then they end up killing both the caterpillar and any kind of future development that might happen. So it's a sort of a microcosm of how the left thinks in a way.
It is, and it's a twisted way that they think in many ways. I've never heard it described that way. That was outstanding. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome stuff. Have a great weekend. Excellent call there. He absolutely nailed it. Spot on, perfect. We know what the left likes to do because they're doing it in the UK. The UK, again, has postponed elections. I say cancel. If elections were, I don't think they were today, but whatever the date is, that's out. They've canceled that date. Election day is canceled. They say they're postponing and they'll do it in the future, but they've done this before. They've got turmoil in the UK like very few places on earth because it has been a very great country for a long, long time that's added a lot to civilization and greatness around the globe. These are the people that hang on to their royal family, and they're letting Muslims from the Middle East take over their country, and most of them are there illegally. They have incredible gun laws, so what they've found is the crime that's taking place now in London is all knives because the punishment isn't as bad. Knifing, stabbing by a knife, London is the capital of the world now for knife attacks. They've postponed their elections. Nigel Farage and others with the Reform Party are leading in all the polls. They don't want the elections to happen. They're terrified of an absolute wipeout of their party. And in addition to this, postponing the elections, they have announced they are putting China-style facial recognition in every town in the UK. So not just London, Birmingham, the big cities. They're going everywhere. Every village, everything, everywhere is going to have facial recognition cameras that have been basically invented in China. They also announced they're ending an 800-year-old trial by jury system in the United Kingdom. The majority of cases now will not have juries in the UK. Donald Trump has referred to what's happening in Europe overall as civilization erasure. They're allowing people to come in from North Africa and the Middle East, take over their culture, be there illegally, commit crimes, create mayhem, take to the streets, and lose the cultures, the great cultures of those countries. It's pretty hard to argue. In fact, this is not a normal source of somebody that would say something like this. I'm a fan of Ed Sheeran. He's a musician from the UK. He's very talented. I think Taylor Swift sort of found him and made him, but he stood very strongly on his own. He's one of what, Mark? One of the top 10, 20 most popular artists on the planet?
Yeah, I would say so.
Ed Sheeran's a big deal. He can fill a stadium. Ed Sheeran's on the Theo Von podcast, and I think they're in England. And he says, Theo Von's like, man, this is a little wild over here. Where are the safe places in London? And Ed Sheeran says, there are no safe places in London. You can go to the wealthiest parts of London, and they're no safer than the poorer parts. And Theo Von's like, what? He's like, no, it's true. He says, now you just can't be doing crazy stuff. And they start to explain things like, they have these like chalk outlines now on the streets in London that are cell phone zones is what they call it. You stay out of them if you're on your cell phone because cars will pull up and knock you over and grab your cell phone and drive away. There's easy spots on the curb where you can do this and get away with it. And apparently some of these have been found to be blind spots where the cameras don't see the people do it. So now they're identifying there's so much crime everywhere, like you can't have your cell phone out. You got to have it in your pocket. You got to have it in your purse. If you have it out, they're going to hit you. They're going to knock you over and take your phone and sell it to somebody in another country. It's crazy what's going on. Ed Sheeran? So like Nigel Farage could have said this, and maybe 12 people outside the United Kingdom would have heard it. Ed Sheeran, he says it, and millions of people around the world will hear it. I mean, he's literally described London as no safe place. There's not a safe place in this city. But then he goes on to say, don't do anything crazy. You just got to not do crazy stuff. Well, what he's saying is you have to make sure that a crime doesn't happen to you because the authorities here are doing nothing about it. They're ahead of us in the UK. What they're doing there is exactly what the Democrats want to do in the United States. They want chaos. They want control. They will postpone elections. They don't care about crime. They want unfettered illegal immigration. It's all going on in England, and it's happening throughout Europe. They're ahead of us. Thank God we have Trump for 4 years to slow it down. But again, if we don't pass the proper laws and take the proper steps to make sure that the Democrats can't get control and do this in the United States of America, I don't know how we stop it. The whole world seemingly has lost its mind on this front. And you would think a place with a royal family would be the last place they'd allow this to happen. If those traditions in England and the United Kingdom are going away, how long can the royal family stand? Do you think the illegal immigrants, when they become the majority, when it becomes a majority Muslim country, do you think the royal family stays? No. They're going to have their own royal family. Speaking of hostile takeovers. The Chiefs are talking big that they've had their best practice week of the year. And one of the ways they've described it, a lot of times you'll ask a coach, our practices were really good. And sometimes it's execution. Sometimes you're installing things that maybe haven't come along as well as you thought, and it hadn't worked as well. Maybe some gadget plays that just you're fumbling or just isn't quite right, and now you've got it down. You got to that point. You've just been practicing, and you've got something. That's not what the Chiefs players are saying this week. They're saying this week this has been their fastest practices of the year. That even better than the bye week, they came back with fresh legs. The scout team guys have fresh legs. That the pace of practice picked up. That we're moving faster. We're running faster. We're doing all these things. It's just much faster. That all sounds great. If they go out and win 37-10 Sunday night, I'll believe it. But why would you wait until 12 games in and pick up and ratchet up and ramp up what you're doing in practice? Again, I was the guy in the summer who told you the quarterback was overweight. He figured that out. It didn't look like a team taking it all that seriously to me. Now they're telling you, before their 13th game, we haven't taken it very seriously this year. Now we're really trying in practice. Because what? You got to win 5 in a row? Mark, you're a better person than I am. Please tell me I'm wrong about this.
No, when you're talking about best practices, that's usually bad teams that talk about their best practices late in the season or a team meeting or something like that, players-only meeting.
I just hate hearing them say, we're going faster, we're practicing harder than ever. Prove it. Sunday night, prove it.
Yes.
Beat this team, beat them hard, and just tickle those tonsils and be done with it. Shove that ball down their throat. We have a winner?
We got a winner. I'm going to get his info after the show's over. I figured.
Looks like his name is Randy.
Yeah.
All right. I see it on the caller ID. Randy, congratulations. Our winner Stick around, Randy. We'll get to you here in a couple of moments and tell you how to get your Weird Al tickets so you can stop calling. We have a winner. That's pretty cool. All right, so the Chiefs and Texans are Sunday night, and FanDuel is offering an incredible offer again here. It's basically $50 free, correct?
Yeah, you can put up to $50 on it, and then you'll double your money if there's 1 point scored in the game.
1 point. So there's never been a 0-0 overtime shutout before, I don't believe.
I don't believe so. Not in the modern era.
Right, so it's impossible. A few points were scored last night. They offered the same thing last night, right?
Yes, they did.
How many points were there in that one? Was that 44-30?
Yeah.
74 points?
74 points. That hit the over by 20 points.
Hit it in the third quarter. That's pretty good stuff on that one. FanDuel.com/Missouri is where you want to go to do that. One other sports note here. The winter meetings start today in Major League Baseball.
Think we'll get a trade from the Royals?
I think the Royals are going to be active.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's the problem. To get something, you got to give something.
Yeah, that's the fan favorites could get traded in this.
The Royals need hitting. They need hitting in the outfield. They think Caglione and Carter Jensen are going to contribute this year, but you can't count on it because they really haven't done it yet. So they've got to find a proven bat in this lineup. They're shopping Chris Bubich, but he's only got 1 year of control left, so he's not really a player that a lot of teams are. If they had a player, an outfielder with 1 year of control left, you might be able to make it. The question is, the Royals going to do something really bold? Would they offer up Cole Reagans? I don't think they will unless it is just a blockbuster that brings a couple of controllable bats. The one everybody's calling on is Noah Cameron because he's got 6 years left. Everybody in the league wants Noah Cameron. I think he's an untradeable part. No question about it. Netflix. You watch Netflix?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're buying Warner Brothers.
Saw that.
That's going to be CNN and all that stuff. It might be a little liberal to own that thing.
Yeah.
I was hoping for something better, Mark. All right, listen Saturday and Sunday morning for all of Mark Van Sickle's parlays and hit it big with FanDuel this weekend, courtesy of KCMO Talk Radio. Let's go.